Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this exciting Dr. Jaspersoft session about embedding new reports, ad hoc, and dashboards easily with JavaScript using our award-winning framework Visualize.js. I'm Badr Dreyfi, your Dr. Jaspersoft host here from Paris, and with me today is our guest speaker, Ramya Pashipula, Customer Success Architect at Jaspersoft. Joining us from New Jersey. Hi, Ramya. How are you doing?
Hi, Better. Good morning. I'm doing good. Good
Good.
morning, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Ramya, for joining us to this really exciting session about Visualize.js. Can you move to the next screen, next slide, please? Thank you. Yes, so please, guys, keep an eye out for our next session announcement. We'll be sending you emails about this sometimes early next year. Of course, if you have any topic you would like us to discuss, please send them to Dr. Jaspersoft at connect.jaspersoft.com or just post it in our community Q&A. Please put your questions on the comment section in the right of the YouTube stream. We'll be monitoring it and we'll try to get to all of your questions before the end of the session. Without further ado, I'll give you the floor, Ramya. You can go ahead.
Thanks, Better. Today we will discuss, our agenda is to discuss more on Visualize.js. What is the overview? Why we will use Visualize.js and authentication. We will write on a sample resource embedding Visualize.js and some basics functions used in the Visualize.js, some sample reports, dashboards, and ad hoc views, and also custom visualizations means where we will get the data from the resources like dashboards, ad hoc views, and reports, and how we will create non-visualize.js libraries like D3 charts and Angular.js, how we can embed seamlessly into that into our application using the third-party libraries. And let's get into the overview of Visualize.js. Yeah, as we all know, Visualize.js is a JavaScript API framework, which helps us to embed our Jasper reports visualizations into our applications, in web applications. And this was introduced from Jasper Report Server 5.6 version onwards, and which is helping us seamlessly embed our analytics into the applications. It also a framework as acts as a wrapper on top of the Jasper reports libraries and the REST APIs, which the actual work at the background was done by the REST API calls, and it delivers the seamless integration and into the end users using Visualize.js. And it comes with a commercial version. It's not in a community version. It was not supported by the community version, and we can create a next generation embedded analytics using Visualize.js. And coming to why we will use Visualize.js. Before Visualize.js, we used to embed our applications using iframes and REST API calls. Even though they are very fast and fetching us the expected results, but we don't have control on on all the resources and all the events, all the events of the Jasper server resources. So Visualize.js allows us not only to embed and also interact the reports, ad hoc views, and dashboards into the application. We can also create web pages and web applications using the complex interactions and embed them into our application. We can also change the look and feel of the default reports or the dashboards using CSS. And also there are new ways to merge the data into the application. For example, we want the data from a report for ad hoc view. We can fetch the data and we can create a non-Jasper charting libraries like D3 libraries and Angular.js on top of the data to create our own look and feel, to create our own way of custom visualizations. Yeah, now we will start how to start creating a sample report and embedding using a Visualize.js JS to your application. For this, we will get started with the script. The script which was hosted in our Jasper server on Jasper server, and we can see the script URL, scripts request URL. It starts with the Jasper server port, Jasper server landing page /client/visualize.js, which again takes some request parameters as inputs like locale, logins enabled. We will know more about this by going here. Okay. Let me log into the server. Currently, I'm using a demo server to demonstrate some samples. We can click on any report or any resource on the Jasper server. And we can go to the embed button here to get the basic embed code, which will be helpful for us to start building more customizations on the Visualize.js. And as this is the basic code we will get, and we can modify the code using we can open this code in JS Fiddle and we can apply our customizations. And also there are, and we support many sample Visualize.api live samples, which will be available and hosted under this site. See here, you can go navigate to these the live samples, which was again integrated into the JS Fiddles. Similarly, we can open this code in a JS Fiddle. Okay, and this is the source code of the Visualize.js, the path where it was hosted on the Jasper server. We can call this, and in the HTML section of the Visualize.js, and the next section is a JavaScript section where we will call the Visualize.js functions. For example, it was followed by the authentication method, which we will discuss more in our next slides. And the authentication module, after that, it follows the just Visualize.js object, which here the Visualize.js object calls the dashboard functions, which run with the resource specified in the URL, and it runs the dashboard result into the container, and it displays the result into the container. This is how we will see the fourth quadrant, the result of the result of the dashboard, which ran using the Visualize.js. And also we can use the CSS section to customize our look and feel of the dashboard. Okay. And for testing these samples, for testing this JavaScript, as the popular one is the JS Fiddles, we can use the live JS Fiddles to test our code, Visualize.js code, embedding Visualize.js code. Or another way is we can create HTML pages which embeds the CSS, JavaScript, and HTML at one place, and host those HTMLs under the Web Apps Jasper Server Pro tester scripts, and we can simply refer to the steps using the following URL. Means Jasper server / means the home, the landing page / the test scripts.html, for example. Yeah, we can use the similar way. And coming to the next topic, we know how to get the basic code out of the dashboards using the embed code tag lies in the Jasper server. After that, we will discuss more on the authentication. Here, authentication, normally Visualize.js supports two types of authentication method. means one is the authentication module. You can write a authentication module to authenticate to the Jasper server. So you will get the access of the Jasper server session, and you can play. You can call any properties, functions, such kind of things. And the other method is using auth properties. Auth properties means we will create a auth JSON object. If you see, for example, for the plain text, if you see the auth, it's a JSON object we created with the properties, name, passport, or organization, time zone, such kind of things. Similarly, if you see for the CAS SSO, for the CAS SSO, here we created the authentication using an authentication module. Yeah, these two approaches are allowed while authenticating in the Jasper server using Visualize.js. Not only that, it supports many authentication, means not only plain text authentication, it also supports the token-based authentication, single sign-on authentication, like pre-auth and CAS single sign-on, which again uses the token to authenticate to the Jasper server. And these are these three the plain text, which is not a production friendly, which we should not use in production environments, as it will exposes our passports to the users. So the preference method is single sign-on. Not there is another way where the authentication, the whole authentication part is handled by the third-party application, another application where we will pass that, we will create an authentication module, we will pass the properties and handle the request to the third-party URL. The third-party URL does it the authentication, and it sends the authentication session to the client, so we can operate our operations on after that. Similarly, the authentication also supports some functions like login and logout function, which the login will create the session, and the logout functions, it will destroy the sessions. And to know more about the authentication, we have the API document to know more about the authentication here. If we go through the API document, authentication, normally the authentication, it has the authentication module has some properties and functions which the authentication will perform. If you go to the properties, this is the model for the properties, where you can see the URL. The properties includes the URL, the name means username, the passport. It has the metadata. Metadata of authentication module means organization, locale, and time. You can set the time zone. And if you are using SSO, CAS SSO, you can use it is a token. It allows the pre-auth. It supports two functions, login and logout function. And it also has several authentication properties. Similarly, we have all these metadata object and its description in the document available, not only for authentication, even for the reports, dashboards, ad hoc views, ad hoc views. And we have the sample model for the error handling, and hyperlink, how to create a hyperlink, such functions. Coming back to our demo. Sorry. After authentication, now we come here to generate the report, to perform an action. So the Visualize.js basically supports different functions like dot report, means if this is the container, for example, here the Visualize object has a container and it's HTML, which on top of which it will call the report function. For example, if we take the reports, it will call the report function, and report function will have its own resource, which report to run. And after once it successfully execute the report, it will display the report result in the container. Similarly, for the dashboards, it will run the dashboard mentioned in the resource URI, and after once the dashboard is successfully ran, it will it will display the dashboard in the container, specified container. Similarly for the ad hoc views and for the input controls, even for the input controls, it will do the basic input controls. It will pick the input control. There are two types. It will look for the report at a dashboard, and it will pick the input controls associated to the report or the dashboard, and delivers to that and displays the values in the container. Similarly, we have resource search. Not only apart from the other functions, the report search is different. Means it allows us to completely access the repository, Jasper Server repository, where we can search and we can search particular type of reports, and we can navigate to the whole repository using this function, which again, this function has the properties like the folder array and types of the report you need. If you want to search only the input controls, or if you want to search only the resources, file resources or images, we can do that search here. And in the next slide, we will discuss some samples, in the sense more about the reports, dashboards, which again, we will discuss about some samples using our live API sample guide. Okay. Coming to the reports. This, as we already discussed, the report function runs the report on the Jasper server and renders its result into the container provided. And it also supports many functions like interactive reports, with hyperlinking, creating some interactivity of one chart, one report with the another report. And we can create custom input controls. Custom input controls means we will take the input controls and pass the value to the reports. Not only, apart from the parameters, we can pass the input control values and pass that input control to the reports. And we can render multiple reports in the same landing page. And also we will discuss UI controls. UI controls in the sense the tables, which by default comes with the Jive UI component for sorting, drilling down of the reports, and conditional formatting of the tables and cross tabs, such kind of stuff, and exports. We can also export the report. And normally we can export into we can export the data. We can export in the file, which supports by the predefined functions in the Visualize.js, which again interacts with the REST APIs to derive the desired export. And also we can save the report. We did some modifications on the CSS section of the report, and we want to save the report. We can perform the save function on the reports using Visualize.js. Similarly, cascading input controls. We can do pagination. We can do pagination, next page, previous page, such kind of paginations. And we can track the events like report completion state. And there are some events like on-click event, and specifically it will be helpful for us in while working with the hyperlinkings and all, and also page events like how many pages the report has, what is the current page. Such kind of events are supported in the report functions.
Yeah.
Now we will look into the live JS Fiddle samples to demonstrate on the interactive reports, how we will create the interactivity between the two reports. As we discussed earlier, this is the HTML section where we created two containers. One is for the main, and the second container is for the drill down report to appear. And this is the sample CSS which we applied. It the sample means just we did only the left alignment here, not much CSS available here to demonstrate. And coming to the JavaScript section here, this is the resource, the main resource path. This is the resource path, and this is the same sample authentication we did. This is the normal plain text authentication we discussed. And here, when coming to here, we are calling the report function on Visualize.js object, okay, of the resource with the link options. Here, when we click on a particular section of the pie, it will pass the value. Sorry. Okay, I need to disable this. Okay. The section of code which will navigate to the another page. I disable that code, and when we click on the particular section of this, okay, it will refresh the it will refresh the bottom drill down chart. Similarly, okay, sorry, it is navigating. Okay. Yeah, when you click on particular section of the pie, okay, it will pass the it will pass the values, parameter values of store state. Okay, and it will pass the value from the main chart to the drill down chart, and refreshes and again at the drill down chart we again use the resource and the parameters linked to it. This and the resource function runs the particular report and assign the content into the drill down report. And this hyperlinking we achieved using the link options and the events. On click event, when we click on the particular type, it will pull the data, parameter data. It will pull over it will pull the data, and it will pass the data as a parameter to the other chart, and it will render the report in the drill down. This is a sample two-chart interactivity report. Another sample here is we can discuss on custom input controls. Custom input controls here in the sense here. In this section, we are creating the input controls, and we are calling the input control functions for a particular report URI. Means it will hold all the input controls in the variable input controls, and we will pass this input controls variables. Okay, and we will pass the particular input control variables into the report. For example, the report dot parameters, we will pass these values to the parameters, and we will render the report. Similarly, we can attach the input control function to the report function to render the visualization. This is and another sample is for the UI controls. For the UI controls, for example, we can use by default. It will use the Jive UI component, which was enabled by default. If you want, we can disable the Jive UI, and which will allows us to sort in ascending order and sort in descending order. And also we can apply the conditions on top of the conditions on top of the numeric value. It means this allows us the conditional styling where we achieved using the update component of the sales column name with the operator greater than value. If it is greater than and value, it needs to change the font to italic and underline. All these things means the conditional styling is mentioned here. Yeah. Similarly, we can export the report. The export parameters by default, the report function and functions export formats will hold all the supported export formats available for the report. And this was assigned to the report export reports. And when we click on when we select the report, and this button section, the build control here will export all these report export options, and to create a combo box where when the user selects the particular export and click on export, okay, it will create the export. This is the report.export, and we can the output format is the selected user selected output format, and it will render render the corresponding output in the UI. Similarly, if we click on PDF, it will create a file output. Similarly, we can export these to CSVs. This is how we export our reports into a different formats. Yeah, next we will discuss the same thing. Means we discussed how to save the report. It will save the report. Similarly, means we can using .save. We can save the report after performing the operations, CSVs and all. We can save the report using report.save with the options with the options mentioned in the above code. All these samples are available from our samples code from the Visualize.samples URL. You can navigate to the report samples, dashboard samples. Here you can able to see the live field samples, which you can interact and you can play with these customizations. And we will go to our next topic, that's dashboards. Similar to the reports, for a dashboard also, it runs the dashboard function. Visualize.js runs the dashboard function on the Jasper server and displays the result in the container, whatever we provide in the HTML section of the JS fiddle. And similarly, it also creates the interactive dashboards. Refresh. We can refresh the dashboard. We can create custom input controls for the dashboards. We can do hyperlinking. Hyperlinking means within the page hyperlinking, or in the separate container hyperlinking the destination, or it needs to open in the next page. It's hyperlinking depending on the properties we set while creating the dashboard. Similarly, for the events. Some of the events like means we can check the total number of pages, and we can cancel the dashboard execution. We can see the status of the dashboard rendering, whether it's completed or not, those things. And also for the export here we can export. We have two types of export here. We can only export the image detailed. There are two means: detailed export and non-detail export. Means screenshot type export. We have the option. We can set, if we set the detail export to true, it will give you a detail export. If it is false, it will give you a screenshot export. And also for the dashboards, whatever we see while generating the dashboards means the refreshing the dashboard. Visualize.js supports all those things. Visualize means refreshing a dashboard, means undo and redo stack. Means the undo and redo stack, how it will work means if you apply any parameters for generating a dashboard, and if you want to revert the input parameters you applied before to that, we can revert that back to that. Here is the sample. Here is just a sample fiddle live example where we can create undo parameters, redo parameters. We can do redo. These are the predefined functions available in Visualize.js dashboard functions. These are events you can perform on the dashboard. And similarly, our next topic is we will discuss more on the ad hoc views. And ad hoc views, we can in ad hoc views we can control the canvas. We can perform in the same in all the operations similar to the dashboards here. And also we can control the canvas. Some additional features here is we can control the canvas. In the canvas means we have the data, and we can we will see this in depth here. Here is a sample visualization of type table. Here we can create the canvas. We can set the canvas property for the ad hoc view. For that, here we created we choose the ad hoc the particular ad hoc view here, and we are trying to set the default canvas type to table, and we have multiple options here to set the canvas type. And if you see here, we can set the canvas to cross tab. We can set the canvas to spline. and we can set the converse to bar like that. Similarly, for the JS end, and if you want, okay, we can disable and we can enable the chart selections here. Here currently the display is none, so that's why we turned off the virtualize selector option here. Okay, this is the sample, and these are the sample. We created a function with all the sample supported types, Canvas supported types for the ad hoc views. And similarly for the input controls, even you can access the input controls for the ad hoc view. You will get the input control data for the ad hoc view, and you can pass the input control ad hoc view IC. Okay, and you can attach these input control values to the into the parameters of the ad hoc view to render the report. The report. And one more thing is, if it is successfully rendered, we will get the data into the success function. If it was not working, it wrote some error, we can catch these errors using the error function. And lastly, we discuss about the custom visualizations. In custom visualizations, there are multiple ways to do this custom visualization. One way, using Visualize.js, is using Visualize.js is we will get the data from our Jasper server resources. Like we can get the data from ad hoc views, we can get the data from dashboard or a report. We can get the data and we will and pass the data into D3 or other third-party libraries, which will render and which will render the charts for us. Means we are integrating here the Visualize.js, using Visualize.js Jasper server functionality, a functionality with the three third-party D3 chart libraries. We'll see that here. For this sample, I chose a report. I created a report and I am planning to pass this report's value. I'm planning to pass this report's value to the D3 charting libraries to render the report, some D3 using the D3 libraries. For this, we need to include, the script needs to include the D3 charts. Either we can include it here using the script tab, or you can add it in the resource URL like d3.js. Similarly, it has a dependency on D3 chart libraries. Means currently here we are planning to achieve the liquid fill gauze. So you can get the liquid fill gauze.js samples from the D3 samples. If you go to navigate for the D3 samples or D3 samples page, you will get means sunburst chart libraries and liquid fill gauze sample codes. You can get the code from there, and you can create the JavaScript out of that, and you can host. Means you can include the same JavaScript code in your JavaScript section of the JS Fiddle, or else you can. Okay, or I hosted this in my local in my local Jasper server. Yeah, or else you can create .js and you can host it in your Jasper server, local host Jasper server using under scripts libraries, and you can reference it here. You can reference it here, or else you can reference it under the script source using your path to the script libraries, and or else you can copy the liquid gauze fill and you can paste the same code here in the JavaScript section. What currently, how we will connect from Visualize.js to D3.js means the Visualize.js at the report function runs the report and displays its it contains into the main report. When the user clicks on the particular on the particular slice of a pie chart, it fetches the data. It fetches the data and assigns it fetches the report execution and it assigns the value of the total sales value to a global variable which we created at the starting. For example, for per ship, I took an example of per ship, percentage ship, and assign the value total sales value to the per shipped value, and we are passing the per ship variable into the build 3D customizations. Here in build 3D customizations, I am again doing some calculations on top of this, on top of the value which we received from the pie chart to make it a percentage, round figure around percentage and percentage. And after that, we can create a variable liquid fill gauge settings, means how the color is, what is the wave color, how the wave look like, what is the wave count, wave height, all these properties to define our D3, our D3 chart. And we are calling the gauge here, which will means this is the container where we need to attach our output, means where we need to refresh, means we need to render our 3D charts, and it will take the input. The liquid gauge will take the input value and the configurations, how the it gets the value it needs to display, and how the configuration, look and feel of the D3 should look like in the config large properties, and it will render the D3 charts using the D3 chart library, liquid fill gauge .js JavaScript file. Similarly, when we click here, we're able to achieve the respective visualizations here.
So just a question here, Ramya, if you go back to the custom visualization, so
Okay.
that code here, build visualization function, is it your function that you wrote it here, or does it come from the liquid fill gauge.js from D3 charts?
The visual I wrote it here. This is the section which I wrote normal, just like a normal Visualize.js calls for other reports, just to pull the reports and attach the report output to the container and all. And these are all Visualize.js calls. The only part is the functions, means if you see here, this is only this is only till here. My Visualize.js calls are till here, and after that I'm using the libraries.
Okay.
Liquid fill D3, like these are all D3 chart libraries.
So the liquid gauge are come from a library, and you put them here only because you're not linking. You're not linking to the
local
file
server.
to the file online. Great. So in order to add custom visualizations to our Jasper report server using and call them via Visualize.js, so all we need to do is to configure them here and load whatever custom analytics that we want from D3. And what you said before is you can find other custom visualization in D3. Could you show us where we can look for others D3 charts?
Okay, normally it will be available in the D3 samples. If you go to D3 samples.
Okay.
Okay, and it has some examples. I need to figure out which is up for this examples, and you will get the source code. Means for sunburst chart, red zoomable sunburst chart, such kind of things. You can get the data there, and even the JS files. We can integrate that. We can figure out the appropriate visualization for our reports or dashboarding, and we can pass the data from reports or ad hoc views. We can pass the data to the charts.
All right, thank you. Sounds good.
Similarly, there is a demo app here. It's loading. Yeah, this application demonstrate us the Visualize.js means capability to embed using D3 charts and Angular JS charts, charting libraries and all. How seamlessly we can integrate the visualizations into a web application. Yeah, you can go through this application, and I have posted the video tutorials on this, how to download the source code of this, and how to analyze on these URLs at the reference, the below reference, where you can find number of tutorials on custom visualizations, means mostly on ad hoc views, how you can embed your ad hoc views into the application, and you can get the data and create another visualization on top of that to display that in your charting library. These are very good resources to start with in-depth visualization and D3 custom visualizations if you want to go with. And yeah, and here are few resources using the samples. You can get, you have the details on where to get the samples code. You can go to the GitHub and get the details. And it has the process how to import those details into samples into your local Jasper server, and you can play with these samples.
Thank you, Ramya, for this rich and detailed presentation. That was really good. Yes. So, guys, if you have any more questions, please put them in the chat box right in front of your stream. Otherwise, if you missed our session and you're watching the recording, please connect to us to Dr. Jaspersoft at connect.jaspersoft.com, or just shoot us a question in our community Q&A, as was showed before in the previous slides. This recording and these slides will be posted soon in our jaspersoft.community.com or in jaspersoft.com office hours page. Thank you again, Ramya, for this presentation, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Better. Thank you all.